Hello and welcome to another episode of Marty's Matchbox Makeovers. Such a beautiful day here that I just want to stay outside in the garden and do a little bit of trimming, but instead I think I better get on inside and start another makeover. So here I am in my hobby room, and this is the vehicle of choice for me today. It's a beautiful example of a Matchbox number 41C, the Ford GT. And this little model came out in 1965. And I believe the actual car had a 4.7 litre V8 engine. And it's mid-mounted, well they say it's mid-mounted, it's towards the rear, and you can see it through the rear windscreen on this model. Now, I must confess I've had this model a long time. It actually arrived in December 2019. And the person that sent it to me is David Peterson from Washington in the USA. So David, if you're watching, please leave a comment at the end of the video if you like what you see. And thank you for sending it to me. How do I know it's David's? Well, because of that number on the roof. That's been there since the day I got it. Anyway, having a look at it, it's been well played with. Typical sort of play-worn vehicle of this vintage where the decals are scratched off and every panel's got a little chip in it. So not a complete disaster really. All the tyres are missing, which could be awkward if I haven't got any. I've also found this second one in my toy box. Don't know where this one came from. Probably had it a long time also. I was so pleased to say I had two because it means I can now do another 2-for-1 video. And they're going to be slightly different, these two, because these vehicles came out with two different colours, and I'll discuss that again in a minute. Before then, the first thing I'm going to be doing is removing the base. And I'm doing it with this 4mm drill. Normally it's a 5-minute job, but today my drill is flat, so I had to charge the battery, which was a little bit annoying. As soon as you work yourself up to do something and then you start doing it and you have to stop. So this is about 25 minutes later and the drill's charged. And this is another one of those makeovers where I'm not going to use a screw to put it back together. I'm going to use the softly approach and very carefully drill out the rivets so there's the minimum amount of metal holding the model together. And then at the end, I'm hoping I can snap it back together with pressure and I won't have one of those ugly screws sticking out of the bottom. Don't know why I didn't think about doing this before. This is something that I think could be adopted by people that do this for a hobby. It's a bit hit and miss though. I can't guarantee it's going to work every time. So I drilled out the centre of the rivet and then there was just that outer ring holding the base on. Now there's 1 micron of metal there holding that on there because I used a slightly larger shallow cut drill to take off that tiny little bit of metal that was holding the base on firmly. It's still being held on. It puts up a little bit of a fight. But eventually it comes off, and that's a great idea. It's a great feeling too, and I'm thinking, when I put it back together, I'll just force it back together and I won't need to glue it or put a screw in. So inside we've got the red interior, the V8 engine, and the windscreen, which is held in once again by a rivet. This also I'm hoping to put back in its place without any glue or silicone. So I'm using that very shallow cut drill again, so I don't go through the roof. And normally finger pressure will push the windscreen out, or sometimes I drop them on the desk, but this model's slightly different. The windscreen actually protrudes into the model casting from the inside out there. It sits on the shelf of the dashboard, and it means that pressure from the finger at the front is really doing nothing. So it's not popping out like they normally do. So I have to take a little bit more metal off to try and make it easier to remove. All the time I'm thinking, if I break this, I'm stuffed. Because to my knowledge, I don't have any replacements. Anyway, this is not a bad example. It's showing its age, but I think it will clean up well. There's no obvious gouges or cracks in it. And this is the second one. And the second one's always easier than the first, because the first is a learning experience. And as I said before, this is the first time I've seen a windscreen that extends into the model itself. So here's the two models side by side. Now the one on the right is David's. The one on the left was the scrap one that I found. I'm going to try and keep all the bits together. Theory being that because they came apart, they should go back together again. Like they're all sort of keyed to each other, all the parts. So that's my theory. I'm hoping it's going to make it a little bit easier. So I don't get it, so I don't get them mixed up. I've just scratched the number 1 onto the components of the model on the left. Now just dab a bit of paint stripper on there. I'm running out of this stuff. I'm going to have to buy some more. That's why I'm not pouring it on today. I'm just using a measured amount, small amount, so it's not wasted. Still does the job, mind you. This brush is called a Fitch brush. I don't know why. F-I-T-C-H, I believe. And they're ideal for paint stripping because they've got like fairly sturdy bristles and they're densely packed on the end. And they're kind of angled on a slight angle. I don't know, they're just a perfect brush for this. You know, a normal paintbrush would just fold up. But these Fitch brushes are perfect. I've only got the one, I must try and find some more. Now I'm going to clean the excess paint and the residue from the paint stripper off in the sink, in the laundry. Usually put a bit of detergent on there and just run them under the tap whilst I'm scrubbing them with a brush. Make short work of that, and they look great when they're cleaned up, don't they? A completely different sort of look. Today, because the last model I made was yellow, and I was painting onto a grey base. And the colour yellow didn't come out too good. Now, because one of these models is going to be white and the other one's going to be yellow, I thought today I might use white undercoat for something different. See how that turns out. Now I've got to get these axles off now as well to strip the base and paint it. This model here, the second model, quite rusty, got very rusty axles. And what happens is, as they corrode, they expand and the wheels lock on to the axle. Very difficult to get off. That's why I've invented this axle separation system where you can place a wheel onto that rubber washer there and with a small hammer hopefully jar the axle through the hub. Without damaging anything, and that's just enough to sort of break the friction to give you a fighting chance to get the wheel off. But I must admit these were particularly difficult to get off. They were very, very corroded and very, very tight. I'm not too fussed about breaking these because I know for a fact I've got a bag of replacements in my spares drawers, but I'd still like to keep the original wheels with the original model if I can. David's model's a lot cleaner, been looked after a lot better, and the wheels are going to fall off of this one. So I use this little grinding tool, a little barrel on the end of my Dremel to take off the end of the axle so I can push the wheels off and pull the axles out. Very delicate little job for my fat fingers. Actually, this is the corroded one. That's right, I did struggle, even though I've done all the right things. You can see there's a crack in that wheel. Sometimes that happens when the axles expand so much to actually crack the wheel. So I don't know whether I'm going to have much joy getting these off. Extremely tight. Got the one off there. Not too bad, didn't break. This one's even worse. I think that the actual axle is slightly bent looking at it, and there you can see it had a bit of a twist in it. That didn't help. When the wheel came off, it disintegrated into two parts. Here's the one I could find. The other bit is missing in action. That's the other end of the rusty axle, so I've got those. But I still can't get the wheels off, or the hubs off. So I'm putting them in this little paint pot and squirting some WD-40 in there. Doesn't sound too healthy, does it? Conjures up all sorts of ideas. Anyway, I'll let that stand for a little bit, and as you can see there, it says loosens rusted parts and frees sticky mechanisms, so hopefully it should work a treat. Now repeat the process on the cleaner model, the one without the rust. It's completely different. It's really easy. Just pull straight off there like that. Alright, now I can strip the paint off of the bases. I think this axle might be slightly bent also, so I sit it on my vise and give it a slight tap with the hammer just to try and true it up. Finish with that, so park that up there. Now look how filthy these hubs are, and of course I'm one short. Today, for something different, I thought I would blow the dust off of my ultrasonic cleaner and see if I can get these wheels clean. Now I don't have a lot of solution left. This is a circuit board cleaning solution. So I do have a little trick up my sleeve, and that is I suspend a smaller vessel, i.e. this little jam jar, in the cleaning bath, and I top up to the top of the jars with just water. The idea being that I've got the cleaning solution in the jar inside the machine, and it's inside water. Now the idea is the ultrasonic waves travel through the water, through the jar, and into the cleaning solution. So it's like actually having the bath full, but it's actually only a little bit in that jar. And that's where the cleaning is taking place. And you can see as time goes on, there's some kind of eddy currents in there taking the dirt away from the wheels. This is the system I normally use, where I stick the wheels on those nails and just scrub them with a toothbrush. But like I said, today I thought I'd try something different. So I'll leave that running for 5 or 10 minutes. Meanwhile, let's have a look at these models that I've undercoated with the white primer. Lovely detail in these models. Look at that. That's the vent, the internal vent there for fresh air or demister. I've never seen that on a model to my knowledge. I can't recall ever seeing that before. Some vents on the front there, probably for the intake of the air conditioner. door handles, a bonnet catch on the front, some vents on the rear. The lights seem to protrude a long way. Don't use that word very often, protrude. Those triangles on the corners at the front are lights, headlight lenses. And on the back of the roof, there's some tiny little things. They're called vortex generators. And they're little winglets lined up on the back there above the rear window, and they're supposed to improve aerodynamics, make it go a little faster. Alright, so I'll shut this machine off, and I'm going to have to fish those wheels out. See what they turned out like. I haven't used this for a while, but you know what? I think I'm going to be using it again pretty soon. Because you check out these wheels, you won't believe it. You cannot make this stuff up. They actually look brand new. And I'm not kidding you. There is not one bit of dirt on them anywhere. And I could not believe how effective the ultrasonic cleaner was in cleaning these wheels. It's something I've forgotten because I haven't used it for that long. It's they're absolutely brilliant. A bit slippery too. Look at them. You think they'd come out of the factory, wouldn't you? Just straight out of the mould. Anyway, one short. Like I said, I knew I'd seen a bag of yellow wheels quite a while now. They've been sitting in there. So I thought today's the day. Try and pick a good one to match those brand new looking ones. And what do you know? They're all the wrong size. They're all slightly different sizes. I thought they were all the same. They're not. They're different. And I was a little bit annoyed. Anyway, here's the bases. Stripped the paint off. Cleaned them up. Now I'm cleaning up the axles with a strip of emery paper and my little 12-volt drill chuck that I bought online. Does a pretty good job. Makes them look newish. So here's all the bits taking shape. I gave that a bit of a clean, the engine. Still got the bodies to colour match and the windscreen to polish. And the interior, look how filthy the interiors are. Pretty grotty. So I've got some warm water there with a bit of detergent in it. Give them a quick scrub. Not too bad. Sometimes I spray these with varnish afterwards to try and make them look like they've just come out of the injection molding mold. I'm resisting the temptation today. I think they look good enough as they are. And here I'm showing you that the steering wheel, instead of it being a fiddly separate part to put in, it's actually cleverly molded onto the seats so that the person that's assembling the machine can just fold the steering wheel towards the seat and it will go in. I don't have to risk dropping the bit on the floor and holding up the production line. Now, I'm lucky to have like 50 tyres here, and these do fit. They're all brand new, so that's good. I've often thought the look of a car is largely based on what the wheels look like. I don't know if you've ever thought the same thing. Now, here's a variant of this model that is available or somewhere in the world. It's got red wheel hubs instead of the yellow. They're quite rare. So the yellow is the standard, the red is quite unusual. If you got one, you might be in the money. This one's for sale on the internet for £174.99, which works out about 348 Australian dollars. And this is another variant. It's a kind of orangey yellow. And this one's for sale for £290, which is the equivalent $581. And this came out in a racing set. So obviously they didn't make as many racing sets as they did the cars. And that's why that car's rather special, because there's only one car per racing set. So I'm going to paint the second model in that orangey yellow, and I'm going to use the Tamiya red and the lemon yellow. So that's the colour it's going to be. That was just literally one drop of the red mixed in with the yellow. And for the white one, surprise, surprise, I'm using white. Tamiya X2. I've got the fan on, I've got the light on. Now I'm deciding where I'm going to hang this model after I've painted it, because I'm going to put a fairly heavy coat on it. If I put it on there, it's leaning slightly to the right and forwards. It could sort of run or make a sort of a pattern in the paint, so I'm going to use the one on the left because it's a lot flatter. I've also added a splash of Mr. Colour Leveling Fluid. Don't know if it works, but the bloke in the shop where I buy my modelling supplies, he recommended it, so I thought I'd give it a go. I've only used it about half a dozen times. So the leveling solution should make the paint sit flatter, I think, on the model and just spread out evenly. So if there's light patches, it should all sort of blend in. So there you go, I'm putting it up on that left hand clip to make sure that it is as perfectly level as possible to reduce the risk of runs. I always give a bit of a test spray just to see what the pattern is like, the spray pattern, or whether it's spluttering. Rather test it on a bit of card than on the car. Nice colour. So the white one is dried. I've put it underneath a glass bowl to set, and that's why I'm using the same clamp for the second model. Now, before I went to bed last night, I thought I'd check on everything so I knew what I was up for in the morning, and I was absolutely in despair when I noticed that these windscreens, the original windscreens that I removed, I sprayed them with some varnish after I polished them, and it's turned them opaque and they look rubbish. This morning I had a look around, I found another car. I thought maybe I can rob the windscreen out of that, but no, it's scratched up, scuffed, cloudy and cracked. Anyway, I didn't know what I was going to do. In desperation, I looked in my little drawer marked windscreens, and I haven't looked in it for years. And this stuff doesn't happen to me, but I actually found a bag with, I think it was 5 windscreens in it for this model. It absolutely blew me away, and of course I was overjoyed because I didn't know what I was going to do. So I have now polished those up, and I'm not painting them with the varnish this time round, even though I've done it before. Don't know what happened, I don't know what went wrong, but it just didn't work. I'm going to go back to the floor polish, I think, in future. So I've just got to get the wheels back on and peen over the end of the axles, stop the hubs from falling off. So it's out to the shed to use my axle reforming system, or ARS as I call it. They're not coming off anytime soon. So they're all done, and this is the exciting bit, putting everything back together. Can't wait to see what these are going to look like. The brand new tyres all round is a good look. They're all run free. Now the disappointing thing was, because I didn't have the original windscreens to put back in, the hole in the replacement windscreen is not exactly the same shape or size as the one that came out. That was the whole point of the exercise, so it would click back in. Anyway, they don't fit particularly well, and it takes a little bit of manipulation to get them to sit properly in the models. And they're not as good as the originals either. That one there's got a slight mark on the centre of the windscreen I couldn't get rid of. So even though that clicked, it didn't hold in. So you can see the headache I'm having, and you can imagine the anguish I'm experiencing at this moment. It's a win. Try this one in here. That one's not too bad, but of course it could be better. Anyway, it holds itself in, no glue, no silicone. I'm hoping all the other components here will assist in preventing it from moving. And indeed they do. They all have a job to play, because Matchbox were quite good at what they did, and everything holds everything else in place. And then everything that holds everything else in place is held in place by the base. Well, here we go. Oh, you little ripper. You little ripper. Alright. I'm happy with that. So I'll repeat the process with the yellow car and the white car. They both run free. Now, all I've got to do now is put some decals on, and these will be done. Look at that. Just take a look at the motor through the back window there. That's a nice touch, isn't it? It's a great model. So as you can see, the sticker is blue on the yellow and on the white car. So I'm in my study now. I'm using my computer to make some decals. So I got an image offline and manipulated it a little bit so that it was horizontal. And actually I was looking at some stickers that you can buy, and the 6 is in the wrong spot on some of them. So if you want it to look genuine, you might have to pay attention as to where the 6 is on the stickers that you're buying. Anyway, I've made that many stickers today that if you are going to do this vehicle up and you want some decals, send me an email at Marty's Matchbox Makeovers at yahoo.com, and I shall send you some out. No worries. I've got plenty to spare. The majority of them are good, some are bad, so I chuck all the bad ones away, and I shall just be keeping the good ones. I've sprayed them with some varnish. It just helps to make them a little bit more durable. This stuff, the stuff that ruined the windscreen, I still don't know why, because I've done that loads of times before and it's never done it before. So as usual, pre-wet the area, soak the decal in some water until it separates, place on the model and remove the backing sheet. Then squeegee out any excess moisture under the decal and the job is done. So here's a little reminder of what I started with this model from David Peterson. Thank you, David. The Ford GT, chipped paint, damaged wheels, no tyres, and this is what it looks like now. Not too shabby. To the naked eye, on the table in front of me, it looks absolutely amazing. The thing with these close-up views is it's unrealistic. You don't see this in the real world. Here you can see there's a tiny chip on the front of the yellow model. I didn't notice it until I watched this video. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. So I did indeed touch it up before I put it into the cabinet. Now Ron and John here, they're not married, so they have plenty of money. They've bought themselves one Ford GT each. And they're going to take him for a spin around a racetrack. It's something you can do if you're rich and not married. Here's a picture just to compare how well Matchbox actually modelled the model on the real car. You can see all the vents, catches and door handles are exactly as they were on the real thing. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, please like and subscribe. And don't forget to recommend to your friends. So until next time, this is Marty from Marty's Matchbox Makeovers saying goodbye and thanks for watching.